When it comes to rehabbing investment real estate, we've shared countless times that we want you to go for the quick nickel over the slow dime. Flip it as is. At minimum, we want you to be a reluctant rehabber to avoid all the pain and anguish that comes with renovation projects. There's so much real-world wisdom in being transaction engineers rather than getting deeply involved in rehabs. For the vast majority of investors, especially if you're new, our apprentices are proof that that's incredibly profitable advice. However, there are certainly exceptions, and in this interview, we're going to introduce you to a couple that is a perfect example of when rehabbing and reselling makes a lot of sense. You're going to hear their story about how they first got started, brand new to real estate, and how they're now full-time real estate investors with a couple kids and loving their flexible lifestyle. I'm Brian Bush with Freedom Mentor, and for nearly 20 years, our team has transformed people from all walks of life into incredibly successful real estate professionals. Phil and I are excited to bring you these real-world stories of our apprentices' experiences and real estate success to help you realize the power of creative real estate to achieve financial freedom. Throughout this interview, if you have any questions, text FREEDOM to 305-315-8030 or comment below. Now, let's meet Brandon and Laura.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to introduce you to two special graduates, a terrific duo. They come from the Pacific Northwest in a place where I think a lot of people would consider it very competitive, but they've carved out a very special operation. In fact, they're coming to us live from one of their rehab projects. So Laura, Brandon, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take us back to when you were first considering working with Freedom Mentor. Where were you in your life and in your real estate career, and what attracted you to what we were doing?
Well, I worked at a dental office, and Brandon was actually working at a cell phone tower climbing building company.
Mm-hmm.
And we had rehabbed and sold our own home and realized, man, that was kind of fun. We really liked to do that.
And we got some money for it. So
And we got
that's
some money for it. So we liked that part too. And then the doctor that I was working for had left the practice. And so it was kind of just a good exit point for me. And so then Brandon found Phil's videos on YouTube. And so then we started to dive into it. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it basically boiled down to how can we work and spend more time together as a family. At that point, we didn't have kids. We have two now. So life has definitely changed. But it was, working at that construction company, I was working, 15, 16-hour days, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
It was good training, good teaching on work ethic and all that stuff, but wanted to find a way where we could take the money that we gained from that sale and put it into something that we could sustain each other. And so, yeah, it was probably, 3 months of research that I was watching your videos, Phil. At first, it was discouraging because it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much I don't know. This seems like a big task. But then I just kept watching the videos, educating myself, and then discussing it.
Put out our prayers and said, if this is the path we're supposed to go, here we go.
I'm curious, you guys had successfully completed rehabbing your own property, made some money off it, felt like let's do more. You did some research and realized there's a lot you don't know, but what were you looking for? What was it that had you think, hey, we need help? Were you just trying to take things to a much larger level? Did you realize I want to build a business and I need the help? What pushed you that direction?
I would say we just definitely did want to know what the next steps would be to be able to continue to rehab homes, resell. Because it was such a hot market in Tacoma, it didn't seem like something that we could even fathom diving into and have any, chance of succeeding. So we knew we were going to need help figuring out how to do this and how to do this properly.
Creating the business, that was definitely forefront, trying to create a system that could remove us from the scenario. We're still working on, it's an ongoing process. But ultimately, too, it was like just being able to bet on ourselves. We are controlling the risks that we're taking. It's kind of what drove that to the next step of investing to get the education, to know how to do it. If we're going to do it, to do it right.
Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. Get mentored by me and my team by applying to be my next apprentice. Click the top corner.
So, Brandon, how did that work when y'all first made this leap into doing real estate? Was it difficult to know how to prioritize your day and to know what to do first, second, and third?
That part of it was very natural to me because of the job I came from. When I left, I was a project manager at that company. And so I just attacked it how I attacked every job that I'd done for 12 years at that place, which was stay in front of the subs, let your
Yeah.
schedule be dictated by, like, set that timeline and then you have to get it done, so because that's what is the killer in these projects is that downtime when you're not ready or whatever it is. So I just brought that mentality in here. The hardest part was us getting on the same page because she had come from the dental field as opposed to a construction background. So it was just us going back and forth, making sure we're on the same page there. And it was a change from commercial to residential. Obviously, some of the skills transfer over, but when you go from one industry to another, it's different for sure.
When you first got into our program, what were some of the things that you may have been surprised about real estate and about this business that you didn't really expect going in?
The interactions with the sellers, you kind of, and she does most of it, to be honest, because it's just more of a natural gift for her. Something calming, I think, about dealing with a female instead of a rugged looking dude. But it was just the different, like the whole different genre of sellers and knowing how to accommodate to them and the different situations, different needs for all the different people. And then I also the amount of computer work that came along with it, which was good.
It was good to learn those things because we needed to get our system straight before we moved forward.
So you guys did deals over about 3 years before you graduated. You did some creative deals. You did some rehabs. Do any of those stand out maybe as a favorite deal or one that just really stuck with you?
The deal where the homeowner brought $40,000 to the table for closing. He pulled it from his retirement because he just felt like he was so he had to move. He had to get out. But there was other people who were knocking on his door that he was willing to put in $100,000 at closing. And so we were able to find a common ground where he only had to bring $40,000, which is still a large amount of money. Don't get me wrong, but he was going to pay $100,000. So I feel like we did kind of a service to him. We also helped move him, physically brought our truck. He got a U-Haul and we helped move him to a new location. He felt like he was drowning and he was just going to grasp at whatever came along. And unfortunately, there was sharks circling. he signed off with the wrong. So.
Well, as I recall, he was, it was a VA loan. He was a veteran. Was he active? It was a PCS situation, or was he already out of the military? Okay.
No, he was still in the military. He did not want to be a homeowner. It's just the smallest thing, if the gutter got clogged or something like that. He was just beside himself and did not understand. He worked on the computer side of things in the military. He just thought it was just too much. But we're just so glad that we were able to meet him and get into a better situation.
That's great.
I'd say for me, that is a good one. But ultimately, we've been able to do quite a few closes, especially the ones that are in the bankruptcy situation. And it's just such a blessing to them. They're getting out of a tight spot. They just are so appreciative. So there's probably like 3 of those that we've done where they didn't have any real other options.
Yeah.
So
like the day that we list, they post the 120-day notice on the front door type deal.
Yeah.
But then they're able to walk away with their credit intact. They get money.
Yeah.
We're able to relocate, start over.
So, what did it feel like when you started to get close? When you're like, we're in striking distance of graduating from this program. What was that like?
It was obtainable and wow, we did it. Let's keep going.
And at that time, were you full time in real estate, or were either of you still working in a different role at that time?
You were working for another year.
Yeah, I was still held my position, I think, for another year after that.
Then we both went full time. So primarily me for a while. I was just, we were not doing large rehabs. It was just very platformic at that time.
Yeah, and it helped. My company actually went and closed the doors. Told them hey, I'm getting ready to transition. I'll train up whoever we need to, but I'm going to transition. And then probably 2 months later, the company closed down. So that just kind of escalated that that time frame for us.
I think we were already moving towards that.
As you met that goal, made $500,000, split profits, you graduated, you're finally free, you're getting 100% of the profits. What was that like? What was that feeling, that sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, it was great. There was definitely some confidence because of, like I said, the success that had happened, but it was also, there was preparedness. We felt prepared to be able to go out on our own here and know that we already had these deals under our belts. We had seen rehab, we had seen cosmetic, we had seen a variety of deals in that time frame. So it was just a confidence booster. It was a rewarding feeling, and it was optimistic for us. We made a bet on ourselves. It seems like it's paying off. Let's keep pushing, and let's do this and see how far we can go with it.
I remember Laura in particular, because you were the one kind of full time jumping on some of the group calls, and I didn't see as much because you guys were just busy doing it. Usually when you came in, it's because, okay, I've got this complex creative problem. I think this is how I need to solve it. Is this it? Yep, that's it. Here's a couple tweaks. And you just kept at it. So we saw less and less of you guys on the calls because you had kind of grown into it and you were ready to move on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot of time and stuff trying to look into how do we make this work. And oh my gosh, I don't know, am I going to really mess this up? And then waiting for a time, a call was so crucial because I needed to get it done that day type deal. I need to turn these documents in this day. So there was a lot of stress and a lot of time put into that, but being able to call in and get that backup of, yes, this is this. Don't forget to do this, distress seller form, just the basic things. Well, basic now.
Yeah.
At that time was not basic.
Not basic.
Now it's just a standard.
Got questions? Simply text the word freedom to 305-315-8030 and we'll help you.
So looking back, what do you think about your decision to join Freedom Mentor?
It's made the difference, right? So you always get people like, I want to do that, right? Like, how do you guys go about it? And it's like, well, where do I start, right? Like, and that's, yeah, it has, to simplify it, it was the difference maker in, I believe, what was making it successful or not, because we had someone to lean on. Whereas I'm just having a 10-minute conversation with someone who's curious about doing it. Well, there's a different level commitment when you have when you put in your own skin in the game, right, at the beginning, and you're like, I'm serious about this. That's a different mindset than just, oh, that would be fun to do sometime. So when you actually cross that threshold, committed to it, it's like it works if you make it work.
Yeah, the amount of flack that we got when we first signed up, we had so many people are like, why are you like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, you're like the signs on the side of the road. I'll buy your house for cash, like they're so cheesy. Why would you even think that would be something? And then how quickly it turned to being like,
how are you doing that?
We'll sit down and have a meeting and see what you guys are doing. And
I'd love to pick your brain.
We'd always love to do something like that. Can we partner? And it's like, well, no.
If you hadn't joined Freedom Mentor and you two had just tried to do it on your own, again, you've got a lot of project management experience, Brandon. Do you all think you would have been in the same place you are right now?
I don't think so. I think there's some traps out there that we probably would have fallen into. I mean, especially just like I said, going back to like what the wholesaling stuff is, and it's just like there's so many traps out there that we could have stepped into, as well as how to go about it, the documentation that was available to us, walking us through the documentation. I think we would have been like a lot of other investors where you think it's a great idea, you try it, you lose money, and then you tuck your tail and go back and do whatever it is you were doing before.
Go get a real person job.
Go get a real person job. That's what I'm saying.
If you had it to do again, if you were talking to your younger self, what kind of advice might you give yourself had you do it all over again?
I think we would have utilized you guys a little bit more. I wouldn't really change a lot of the jobs or the houses or any of that we got. It would just be, getting more of those systems in place, picking your guys' brains more so on how to continue this into a better system for a business so that we can be more hands off.
I actually completely agree with what you said, because just in general, you all are such self-starters. You're just so good at just taking something and running with it. Laura, I think some people would want to know a little bit about you being a relatively newer mother and what it's like to be birthing children and being a real estate investor. So maybe shed some light on that.
I mean, we have plenty of photos of the kids in pack and plays and inside while we're working. I like to work personally, but it is a different schedule because obviously family is a priority. So
Sure.
right now we're blessed to be able to I'm able to do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but we have a 10-month-old and a 4-year-old. I try to do more stuff from home, like the ordering or organizing of computer aspect.
When you go from that position, that's always a hard transfer from doing something with your hands to then using your brain to have to think through the process, because it's a lot of times it's just easier to just swing a hammer, right? And so you default to that. But she's had to grow through to, okay, I can't be on site. How can I be more efficient? How can I still help?
Yeah.
And understanding that how she is helping is a huge like material procurement for me for Home Depot to show up here. And I didn't have to even go online. I just gave her some information. It shows up the next day like that. For her to understand how valuable that is, as like I hope she's understanding it now, but it took a little bit of a transition for her to know like value in that is huge. Yeah, for someone on the site.
There's definitely some days that he'll call me. I hear all the action in the background. I'm like, gosh, I wish I was there. But so just trying to take a breath and realize that I'm also so blessed to be able to be, working part-time, but mostly with the kiddos.
One of the essential keys is you become a parent, you have to learn how to be better at leading your life, leading your schedule, and being able to balance it all. That's one of the magical blessings of being a parent. You get better at leading. You're forced to.
Yeah, I think you guys said the kids are with grandma right now. So obviously she gets some time to be with, spoil the grandkids. You guys get time to be on site. When it comes to how you structure your business, because we've got some apprentices that they just want to get in there and swing hammers. They want to be on site. In fact, we've got some that spend way too long. They want to literally do the entire project themselves. No contractors. They're all it. How have you guys arrived at what the right balance is for running your business, as opposed to just hiring a GC and having them run everything?
Well, the GC aspect I feel like is comes pretty naturally, especially to Brandon, and then I feel like I'm picking up on it also. I've just learned a lot from him for that. Just learning the different trades that we are not great at, or it takes us double the time that it takes someone else to do something. It makes more sense for us to pay to have it done, turn the house over, get on to the next.
Yeah. I'd say the simple answer for me is stay in your lane. I stay in my lane. I do what I know how to do, comfortable with doing, and then sub out the rest. There is that balance of just being present. You don't have to be hovering, micromanaging. But I tell that to all my subs too. We're all going to stay in our lane here, and I'm going to be here. And, it's just building that relationship with them obviously is huge as well. So that's kind of that's how we have approached it.
And thankfully, most of the subs that we work with, we now know and trust. We now know their families. We know their dogs. We know these people now. If something does arise that we're like, hey, this isn't exactly how we thought it was going to be, they're like, okay, cool. And they fix it. Building that relationship over several houses, working together has been nice.
At this point, what is y'all's full-time strategy here? What are you focused on as real estate investors? And then what it is that maybe your short-term and long-term goals are?
Right now, I mean, we're just kind of focusing on the rehab and resell because that's what seems to be presented to us. But I don't know if that's necessarily our long-term.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Washington, rentals isn't that attractive to us to be holding them because of the laws that have been passed in the state to protect the renters. So that hasn't really, got our attention. It's what it was at the beginning. It's continuing to build the pipeline. We've been fortunate enough to go from one job to the next, and timelines have been good. But at this point, it is definitely to expand. It's to get the system going that we're talking about, right? So that we have more leads than we know what to do with, type deal. And even and that's like looking at that wholesale industry, like you're saying, like we do have a general care for people. So I feel like that industry, to get someone that can come along to be a little bit more straightforward and honest with the seller and the person coming in, like I feel like if you can infuse a little bit of humanity and honesty in that situation, that that'll take off, So mainly it's continuing, it's the same stuff. It's just continuing to get our market going, continuing to get leads coming in. And so we can be hands off on that and facilitate like realistic wholesaling deals that it's truly a win-win-win for everybody. And continue, we enjoy this work with each other.
I'm just so proud because it's just the best business that exists. So there's not a better one out there if you start looking. I can promise you.
That's true.
Be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor, and that comes with the audiobook version as well. Click the top corner.
Well, any final words of wisdom you might share with someone that's considering whether they can take this on, whether they can have the kind of success that you guys have achieved?
You can do it. It seems stressful at first, and to be honest, I know that Freedom wasn't the most wanting us to do the types of rehabs that we were diving into, because obviously there's more risk at that point, but that we unfortunately found that was our niche, and so we did move forward with that, and thankfully it's worked well for us.
I'd say it's like, be prepared and move forward, right? Like you're never have it all figured out. And if you're waiting for that moment where the clouds part and the sun comes out, you get this sign that, yes, now is your time to take this risk. Like it's never going to happen. So like we said, bet on yourself, know yourself first, know what you're capable of, and take the risk if you're willing to be committed to it. But if you're waiting for the perfect time, it's not coming.
I also love that you all had the foresight and the fortitude to say, you know what, we're going to take everything we've learned from Freedom Mentor, but while they typically try to dissuade folks from doing major renovations, because of your background as a project manager, you were able to deal with the subs. You know all the tricks in the construction industry of how they try to steal and cheat and lie and all those things. So you were able to say, look, no, I think we can handle a rehab. We did our own home this way. We need the other aspects of real estate, but I think we can handle hiring the right people and keeping an eye on them and making sure that they don't leave a job halfway done, or we get too far ahead of them, paying them too much before they've gotten things done. So I think that's just something real special about you all. Sometimes you got to bet on yourself. You've got to take that risk. You've got to be willing to step out and not always. We take the advice from others that works, but then know what really fits for you. And I think that's what y'all have done too. And I think that's real special. Something I'm taking from this interview. Laura, Brandon, thank y'all so much for being a part of this. Thank you for the wisdom you shared, the stories you told. And what a blessing it was to work with you two. If you ever need any help from us, we're always just right here for you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. We feel that it was such a blessing to be able to find you all as well.
Brandon and Laura have mastered the recipe they needed to make Rehab and Resell wildly successful in their local market. With Brandon's background and experience as a project manager and Laura's people skills and talent running the office, doing extensive renovations was very much in their wheelhouse. So instead of shying away from them, they leaned in and have built an exciting business and income, taking on the right rehabs that bring them huge profits. While it's so often more productive to be transaction engineers, Laura and Brandon are a great example of when it can absolutely make sense to take on big rehabs. And as they shared, that's where they're right at home. They're blessed to work as a team to achieve their goals, and they're enjoying every minute of it. If you too are ready to bet on yourself and want the most proven vehicle in business there is, and the most successful creative real estate coaches in the nation to get you there, apply to our apprentice program. where our team will mentor, coach, and guide you to financial success. There's a link in the description and in the top corner. If you have any questions about anything you've learned today, text FREEDOM to 305-315-8030. And if you haven't read it, get your free copy of the best-selling book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor. I'm Brian Bush with freedommentor.com. If you gain more real estate wisdom through this interview, be sure to like and subscribe and let us know below how we can help you achieve freedom.
Would you like to be coached by me and my team? Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. Discover how you can be mentored by us through our apprentice program by clicking above.